Alrighty. See if anybody jumps on here. One viewer. Hey, Park Kingery. What's up, dude? I saw you sent me a message on Facebook, but I haven't had a chance to check it out. I've been out running around all afternoon, so I was driving, pulling into the neighborhood when you got that. I had a few other things to take care of, and then I still had to set everything up for this. So I'll get back with you shortly. Just picked up a player strat. Is that what you sent me? Yep, that's what you sent me. Nice. Where'd you buy that? Looks sharp. Gilmore-ish. Infamous is here. Cool. Yeah, I've had a few new guitars show up here lately, though I'm really impressed with that Chapman ML1 traditional that I got. I like that guitar quite a bit. So, quite a bit. Been very happy with it so far. So I got that, and had a couple of pedals showed up. I guess they showed up towards the end of last week that a company sent me. So I got one of those demos done, as you guys will see here in the next couple of weeks. Not this coming week, but the following week, you guys will see that demo. And the other one probably be a couple weeks behind that. And a new amp showed up this week too. That I haven't decided yet if I'm going to let the cat out of the bag of what that is yet, because I'm pretty happy about it, and so far I really like it, even though it's ungodly loud. Oh well, it is what it is. Music Man JP with a chunk out of the body. I like the JPs. I always have, but after playing a Majesty, the first time that I played a Majesty, I was like, this blows away every JP, Music Man JP that I've ever played combined. So, Infamous, new amp of Blue Voodoo. Yeah, I got a Blue Voodoo. I scored me a Blue Voodoo. So I found found a used one for a stupid, ridiculous price. So I just pulled the trigger, and it showed up the other day, and I plugged it in for the first time yesterday, and it's pretty kick-ass, man. I haven't gotten a chance to spend a lot of time with it, but it brought back a lot of memories. Brought back a lot of memories. So, yeah. So I got me a Blue Voodoo. And a really good. Matter of fact, I bought this one cheaper than I bought my first one years ago. I don't think they've gone down in value, but this particular one just happened to be a really good deal. I knew I had probably minutes to jump on it, so I jumped on it. The 120 though, it wasn't the 150. I would still like to get a hold of a 150 or a 300 one of these days, just because I'd really like the 3-channel version. But they don't come up very often, and when they do, everybody always wants way too much money for them. So there's one that I don't remember who it was now, but a viewer pointed me. One did pop up a while back. For shit. It was a few months ago, and I think it may have been a 300 that it was a ridiculous price on it, and I think I had just bought something else, and I wasn't comfortable spending the money on it right then and there, so I had to let it go, which I'm still kicking myself for. But that would have been cool to have that one laying around, even though, like, I don't know what the hell I'd do with 300 watts, and I don't even know of an attenuator that can handle 300 watts. Um, but it's one of those things that sure would be cool. In the event that I did need to play a gig, no trouble being heard with that thing. I mean, God, the 120s are loud enough as it is. Jesus. So, so I had some prior engagements that I had to handle here today, which is which was I normally try to start these things right around um, right around 1 o'clock or so, and I had to. My wife is taking a trip this week, so I was actually taking her to the airport right in the middle when I'm normally getting my live streams started. So that's why I posted a message earlier this week that said this one's going to be a little bit later in the afternoon. So here we are. Rock 5150 says, I've always used Ernie Ball strings, never really used any of the brand, any other brand. I'm assuming other brand. Do you have your favorite preference of guitar strings? What would be your two favorite? Just curious. Thanks. I've always been an Ernie Ball guy as well. Slinkies for life, really. And I've used primarily just the standard Slinky line. For the longest time, I was putting hybrid Slinkies 9 to 46 on just about everything, and then I expanded out a little bit, and I started putting 10 to 46 or 10 to 52 or something like that on guitars and lower tunings. And then here recently, I've been experimenting the other direction. I actually put 8s on one guitar anyway that I have tuned to E standard, and really like them, to be honest. But always been an Ernie Ball Slinky guy. Used the Cobalts pretty heavily there for a while. Still do have some Cobalts laying around. I ought to throw those on a couple of guitars again. I like the Cobalts quite a bit, actually, but they're quite a bit pricier. They're twice the price of the regular Slinkies. The M Steels are okay, and so primarily Slinkies. Here lately, the other thing that I have been using a lot of, though, actually are elixirs. I've been trying elixirs on some guitars that I don't play quite as often as I do others, just because I don't play them as often as I do. So I mean, I hate grabbing a guitar that I'm going to use for a specific, to record a specific whatever it is that I'm recording with it, and then it goes and hangs back up on the wall for 2 months, and then I go to maybe get one more use out of it, and then after that it's time to change the strings again. So it just kind of seemed like kind of a waste. So that's why I started putting elixirs on some of those guitars, and those I've actually been using the Elixir Polywebs instead of the NanoWebs. For electric, the NanoWeb coating is the more popular, but I've always liked the Polyweb coating the best. I just like the way they feel, and I can't tell a difference in sound between the two. So I've been using a lot of those, and my third choice behind that is usually Dunlop. So Dunlop's got several different varieties as well. Just the the standard nickel plated Dunlops, or I just use a set of the heavy core, the Dunlop heavy cores on a guitar that I restrung earlier this week for the first time. That was an 11 to 50 set for that guitar. I was setting that guitar up in B standard, so I mean it was going to be tuned lower anyway, which is why I did that. But so there's the long answer. The short answer to your question, though, is I've always been an Ernie Ball guy. Always been an Ernie Ball guy. Hobo Roadie's here. Yes, sir. Yep, I was just saying earlier that I had a prior engagement that I had to take care of that was more important than my live stream, so I had to take care of that. this morning, and that was taken, or early this afternoon anyway. That took place, both, I guess. But anyway, that was taking place right in the middle when I normally start my live streams, so that's why I had to back it up a few hours today. But now I got plenty of time, so I'm going to hang out here with you guys for a couple hours, and or however long it turns out to be. And, poor Zoe is in the cone of shame. She's got she developed some kind of lesion or something on her leg that she keeps licking and it wouldn't heal, so the vet had to put her in a cone. So I'm going to spend some couch time with her, and then I'm going to order my weight in Mexican food, and I think it's going to be a long evening of PlayStation and action movies. Park Kinger says, I've used all brand strings, really liked DR and Ernie Ball, and now I'm using Stringjoy. Really, I've never used the Stringjoys. I've used most everything else, and I mean the ones that Ernie Balls have always been my favorite, and as I just talked about a minute ago, but really the ones that I don't like are Diodario's. I've never, Diodario's just go dead on me way faster than anything else for some reason. I don't know why, but that's what they seem to do for me. I've just never gotten along with them. And I break them easier than I do anything else, and I never break strings. So, is what it is. Jonathan Bird is here. Says, "You are the man. Thank you, sir. I don't know what I did to deserve such a compliment, but I appreciate it. Thank you." Chris Rohn is here. Don B is here. Says he had a prior engagement once. I think it was in the 80s. Park says, I hated the blue steel strings. I've used them before, and they're okay. Those are steel strings. They're not nickel, so they have a little bit different tone to them. If you like that warmer tone that you get from steel versus what you get from nickel, they're great. I haven't used them a lot. I've used them a few times, but never had any issues with them. So I went through a phase there where I was experimenting with all different types of strings, and just trying different gauges and different brands and different varieties and different alloys and different everything, coated, non-coated. So and by the time I got done going through all of those, I wound up right back to my Ernie Ball Slinkies. So I'm just an Ernie Ball guy. Chris Rohn says you used to have an allergy to nickel and use Diodario chromes. I've never used the chromes. Those I am not familiar with. I mean, I'm familiar with them. I've seen them. I know what they are, but I never played them. So I think, are they still made? I assume they're still made, or because I know the XLs have become really, really popular for Diodario. I mean, I can't, especially as expensive as those things are. I can't believe they're selling the living shit out of those things. So, I mean, I tried them, and they felt like regular guitar strings to me. I mean, they were better than the EXLs, but but I didn't notice anything special about them. So, hang on one second. Looks, and I think they also just came out with another variety that the XTs, I think is what it is, that are also pricey. So, we got a troll in the chat. Oh, no, we don't. We got Chris Rowe. Chris Rowe typed the word damn, so YouTube blocked that. Nope, not a troll. Just, I've got the settings on my channel. Anytime anybody leaves comments on any video or anything with a 4-letter word, a lot of times YouTube will either make that comment it'll go to spam or eliminate it altogether, or at least make me go through and read it first before I approve it. So, hey, Joey Van Ostren's here. What's up, dude? BudgetGuitarist.com says, small thing, but I like how Ernie Ball strings come in individual envelopes. That's better than constantly forgetting which color string goes where. Yeah, that's another thing that drives me crazy about D'Addarios. I can never. I mean, I know there's a fucking thing on the back of it that tells you which color goes, which color is which string, but still, it's annoying. I agree. And for the most part, I've got it memorized, but still, yeah, I like to be able to pull them out in individual envelopes in the order they're supposed to go. Dunlop does that too, as a matter of fact. So, and Boomer GHS, I think they do something similar. Anyway, Joel Bateman's here. What's up, man? Mitchell Tilley is here. Fret Fanatic. BudgetGuitarist.com says, I've been playing for over 30 years and still can't remember the damn colors. Yeah. Oh, let's see. Fret Fanatic. Any new gear coming up you are excited about? New gear for me or new gear, on the market? There's, on the market, I don't know, man. I mean, there's so much new stuff coming out all the time. So many new companies and, all kinds of stuff. I will tell you that I demoed, you guys haven't seen it yet, but I finished a video for a demo of what was probably the best sounding distortion pedal I've never heard of here just this past week. So you guys will see that. I mentioned that earlier. And there's also an overdrive pedal from the same company that I haven't had a chance to mess with yet. But I'm going to keep those under wraps as far as what they are, because, like I said, you guys probably haven't heard of them anyway. I got one of the first. I got the distortion and overdrive that I got are some of the first ones in the U.S. So they're just now beginning to get distributed. Oh, let's see. There's the new 5150. The LBX Stealth looks pretty cool, though I would, I'm still, if I buy it, the next lunchbox amp that I buy, though, is probably going to be either a Marshall Origin or a PRS MT15, one of those two. So I would really like, probably going to be the Origin, to be honest with you, just because, it's Marshall, and, that thing just, it sounds like an old Plexi, but one that's designed to take pedals. So I've always really, really liked those amps, and they're actually pretty cheap. So, so there's that. I've got, mentioned earlier, I did have a new amp, new to me amp anyway, that showed up on the market today, or showed up on my doorstep, not today, but a couple of days ago. So, yeah. That's about all I can think of, though. That's that I know of it anyway. That's coming out that I'm really, really. Oh, and a couple of new Boss pedals. They've got the new OC5, their new octave pedal. That one's got my attention as well. And I'm not even an octave guy, but you guys know how much of a Boss fanatic I am. So I'd really like to get a hold of that one, but I don't want to. I think I may have asked Boss for one too many favors here recently, so I'm not going to push the envelope on that one. I may just buy it when the time comes. So, let's see. Rock 5150 says was using Ernie Ball 10s for years. Now I'm wanting to go back to 9s because I've heard less strain on the guitar neck. That is true. and a lot of that depends on the guitar that you're putting it on too. If you're putting it on a Gibson scale guitar, those tens are probably the way to go because that's a shorter scale. So you're going to need heavier strings to compensate to a similar tension to what you would get on a Strat style 25.5-inch scale. So I mentioned earlier on one of my guitars, one of my BC Riches, my ASM Pro, the white one with the EMGs that I use from time to time. That guitar I actually keep tuned in E standard, and I put 8s on it recently, and wish I had done that sooner. Because it's perfect amount of tension for me, but more so than that, it tightens up the bottom end. As Rick Beato proved to us on his channel here a few months back. But it's just, it's also really, really, just really easy to play. So that guitar is a great playing guitar anyway, but let's see. Topher T, Boomer, 2 strings per bag. That's right. That's what I thought. I couldn't remember if they did that as well, but they do a different. Martin does. They do 2 strings per bag, but I think they're per envelope, however they do it. But I think they do the low E and the G and the low and the A and the B and the D and the E, the high E together. Whereas Boomer, I think, does the 2 low strings, the 2 middle strings, and the 2 high strings. So. Chris Rohn says, I've used fret wraps. So he was feet wraps. I'm assuming you mean fret wraps, like these guys. Yeah, I use them occasionally. To be honest with you, even though this thing sits right here on my desk, I bought this one and a couple of others just to try them out, just to see if they actually work. I actually did a video on them here about a year ago, and and they do work. I did notice a difference with them on versus not with them on. A lot of people that watched that video said that they saw a difference too. You got to watch it with a good set of headphones so that you can hear all the little nuances. But regardless, it sits right here. This particular one anyway sits right here on my desk, and I never think to grab it and put it on anything, just because I've never really used. I probably should use it more often than I do, but. Yeah, no, they're I'm still surprised at that video because that a simple little device like a fret wrap, and that thing garnered like 5,000 views or something in the first couple of days. I can't believe how well that video took off. I was shocked. That never happens on a video about a little guitar accessory like that. So Park says, I didn't send you that pedal yet. You haven't sent me anything in a while, since that overdrive you sent me for Christmas last year. I think that was the last Parks Custom pedals that I received. Joey Van Ostern says, I got those 2 Fireflies 3 HB Bluebursts. Says they're okay, not an Epiphone by any means, but good for what they are. I'm keeping on and keeping one and turning the other one loose. Okay, I think that's what that meant to say. Sorry for the spelling errors. I'm using the speech function, cutting firewood, listen to Robert. Okay, there we go. I think I deciphered that okay, but well, good. At least you found one. At least you found one that you were willing to keep. I know you've had some bad luck with those, so good to hear. Joel Bateman says, love my PV5150 head. I've got a 6505 Plus combo, but I don't have a 5150 head. I should, and I probably, I should have bought one a long time ago, but with that 112 combo that I got, I mean, that's, that thing sounds killer as well. That's another amp that I should probably use more often than I do, but regardless, it's there if I need that sound. Fret Fanatic says, in my opinion, the MT-15 is a better amp than the Origin, but what is better anyway? Well, and that's the thing, if for the high gain, modern metal stuff, the MT-15 is absolutely the way to go between those two. One thing the MT-15 does not do is the Marshall tone. So, it doesn't do the crank it up loud power, power tubes driving the tone thing that that Marshalls do, and that's kind of what the Origins. And the Origins are, I mean, they're basically, tone wise, I mean, they sound like Plexis to me. So. Pardon me. Paul Adamek says, Robert, love the show. I always value your opinion on guitars, amps, and effects pedals. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. The truth is, my opinion is just my opinion, and I don't have any any vast amount of amount of knowledge more than anybody else. I've got a little bit different perspective from from the other side of the counter that a lot of other people on YouTube don't have, but beyond that, I don't know. I don't consider. I really don't consider my my level of product knowledge be any more or less than anybody else. So, but I do. It is nice to hear that though. So thank you. Fret Fanatic says, I'm glad that the boss hate from back in the day seems to be coming around. Yeah, I was getting a little tired of that myself. Well, most of the boss hate stemmed around the Metal Zone, because probably some yahoo, 20-year-old, plugged in a Metal Zone and had it set to can of bees mode, and or Uber scooped out mode, and somebody made some fun of him, and changed his opinion. Then who knows how it started, but Boss fixed that problem though when they came out with the Wazacraft version. They basically said, all right, here's the circuit, here's the exact same circuit, but with a big. I love both versions of the Metal Zone. Always have. Always loved the Metal Zone. But that Wazacraft Metal Zone is really kick-ass. I do wish they'd done that sooner. Rock 5157 was a whole toke. Yeah, it's an e-cig. It's I don't keep it cranked up very high at all. I run about 30 watts, and that's you got guys out there that run 80, 100, 150, 200 watts, and I mean it's just I don't know why they wouldn't just stick a blowtorch in their mouth at that point. It just doesn't make any sense to me, but. And also I don't need, to be filling up the entire house with vapor. So, I'm not. It's a nicotine delivery system, and that's it. For me, I'm not impressing anybody with it. I guess there are. Somebody told me once upon a time there actually is like vape competitions or something. Like who can blow the biggest, hugest clouds and shit. Like, okay, Once upon a time, I guess there was no such thing as a guitar competition either, but there's plenty of those all over the place. Chris Rowan says, I'll go watch the fret wrap video later. Thanks, been playing 30 years. Never even heard of the fret wraps until yesterday. What they're supposed to do, is, you put them, I guess, really you can put them a few different places. Most people seem to put them behind the nut, to kind of deaden those undertones of the, strings rattling and stuff, either under the nut or right there across the nut. Who knows? There's, I got told a number of different times that, people were using them where I was using them, and other people were telling me I was using it wrong for whatever reason. But Yeah, go watch the video. Hopefully, I don't know if it'll, if it'll shine any light on it for you, but they're, like I said, they are handy, and I'm such a slot player anyway. I probably should use them more often than I do. And let's see, Epic Esquire's here. Gus is here. Brendan Elton's here. Michael D is here. Haven't seen him in a while. What's up, man? Rock 5150 says I'm saving up for the 513S. The stealth version. Yeah, they've got the big 5150, the big 3-channel 100-watt one. Then they've got the EL84, the EL34 version, which is like $900 more for some reason. I've never been able to figure that out, but it is. And then there's the, then they got the 50-watt versions that, go down to, I don't know if you sacrifice, they go down to 2 channels. I don't know which 2 channels they are, but I don't know. I may just get a couple of their stealth, a couple of their lunchbox heads and call it a day. It'd be everything that I need. So I've got now 3. 1, 2. Yeah, I guess 3 100-watt heads sitting back there, and the JCM 900 can be tamed. The PV Windsor needs a little more room to breathe, and and the one that just showed up this week is ungodly loud. So, but I will have some time this week to be able to crank it up and have some fun with it too. So. Let's see. Epic Esquire says, following up on last week being in UPS hell, finally got through to a human, had to pay import duties, finally had the guitar. Cool. I don't know what it is, man. Usually 99% of the time you order something from overseas, and there's never any duty fees. But every now and again, the first time I did order something from overseas, I ordered a guitar from overseas. It showed up and went through customs, and they made me pay the duty fees on it. I was pissed. Because nobody knows what those fees are going to be until it shows up at customs, and customs just sticks a number on it, and for whatever reason, and there's no way to tell if they're going to or if they're not going to. Whatever it is, I don't know. Brennan Elton says there a future Know Your Troll Force to look forward to. I should. This is probably a pretty good time. It's a good time as any to address that. I haven't decided yet, to be honest, and I'm thinking about it. Here's the thing: the last one that I did, I made a big mistake, and there was, and I've since gone in and taken it out. But there was, I let one of them get to me more than I should have, and I went to the, so far as to post the dude's, a link to the dude's Facebook page right there on the screen and in the description, and that was taking it too far. That took it way too far, and the first person that called me out on it, I really couldn't care less about that person's opinion, but a few other people, after I shared that instance with a few other people whose opinion I do value, all of them said, he was right. So, and a few of them weren't real nice about it too. So, I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I'm still kind of kicking it around. Like I said, that particular one, I took that one too far, and I do regret it. So, if that individual happens to see this, my humblest apologies, and it won't happen again. But, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to. It's also been mentioned to me that the Know Your Troll videos are are a little on the negative side to a lot of people. So, and I certainly don't, I mean, I've always thought they were just funny and entertaining more than anything. I've never really considered them to be to me putting any kind of negative message or anything like that out there. It was never my intent with them, though I do, I admit sometimes I get a kick out of, giving a response to some of those that, there's a lot of stupid people out there. So, and I'm not going to be a doormat for any of them, but yeah, I don't know. I'm, I guess, am I going to do another one? I don't know. I've got some thinking to do on them. I'm not sure yet. So, I don't want to alienate one set of fans by being negative. That's certainly not what I intend to do with any of them. But, if it's coming across that way, I've got to consider it. For those of you that do enjoy them, I've got to consider that too. So, I don't want to be the guy that grows his audience on drama. I certainly don't mean for any of them to be dramatic, but or anything like that, or controversial or anything. But I guess I need to determine whether or not I have, if that's crossing that line or not. So, yeah, I don't know yet. Also, as far as trolling goes, I'll address that another time. So, let's see. Metal Zone's like Nickelback. In public, everyone hated on them. At home, they were rocking it. It's kind of like the moped. Fun to ride, but you don't want your friends to see you with them. Just kidding. That wasn't funny. Yeah, it was, but Michael D says, a lot. The biggest thing is being I'm nominated for 2 new writing awards, and I'm working on an Eddie Van Halen tribute guitar. Nice, man. Congratulations. Casey Strange, first one to pop the super chat today, says, just curious what kind of vape and juice do you use? This is just a cheap Wismec R80, device. I think it's one of those pod system things. Runs on an 18650 that I think I paid $30, $32 or something like this for this, and it's, but yeah, I like it. It's, I just needed something. Before that I was using my old, Kanger, what's they call the Cupti or the Coopti. I never did know how it was pronounced. I went through 2 of those. I liked it so well, but the second one died. Pardon me. And they don't make them anymore, and I couldn't find one anywhere. So then I went to my backup, my old knee box that I still have laying around, and I forgot that thing leaks like a freaking sieve. So I just needed something that was reliable that I could use my batteries on that didn't leak. And, I did a fair amount of research, and this is the winner. So it's this with, I primarily use a vape called Juice Roll-Ups Blue Raspberry Ice, 6 milligram. Yeah, so. Charles75N is here. What's up, dude? Gus says 6505 Plus has one more preamp tube than the 6505. Does this mean it has more gain, or is it the additional tube for the second channel EQ or something? Thank you. Yes, it's the 6505 Plus. The original 5150, and then the 51. What was the 5152? Had a little numeral, Roman numeral 2 right next to the 5150 logo. That's how you could tell them apart. And the 6505 and the 6505 Plus are the current equivalents. They changed the name of the amps. They changed the model name from 5150 to 6505 after Eddie Van Halen left PV and went and started his own company. But to answer your question, yes, the 5152 slash 6505 plus have quite a bit more gain. The 5150 and the 6505, the ones without the extra preamp tube are a little more reminiscent of, like an old Marshall kind of. Not old, or somewhere in that ballpark. It's, think about it. They're a lot more reminiscent of like Eddie Van Halen's earlier sounds. Which of course he was using Marshalls back then, so hot rodded Marshalls. So that's a little bit more what those sound like. Whereas the 6505 Plus kind of went on to become its own thing. If you want more information on that, you wait for Fluff to do another one of his live streams. He's the expert on the 5150s. So he can probably tell you the one thing I do know, and this information came from a friend of mine who used to work for Peavey. All the different versions of the 5150. Regardless if they're made in the U.S. or made in China, all the different eras, the 65, there's a lot of people out there that tell you there is a difference between the 5150 and the 6505. No. Exact same amp. So, like I said, that information came straight from Peavey. Joey Van Ostrin says, I have the LBX. It's a phenomenal amp. I have the same problem with a few high wattage heads, no need for the power, and can't use 100 and 120 wattage I have now. Yeah, I haven't quite figured that out yet, man. I may start employing the 2 notes captor with. Well, out here actually it won't be a problem, because what I can do is I can, those big 100-watt heads, and I've done this with the Peavey a few times. Is I can pull those out and just plug them straight into my Torpedo Live and use a virtual cab on, and I can crank them up as loud as I want. But, because obviously at that point I'm recording silently anyway, other than what may be coming out of my studio monitors. So I do have that advantage. So, it's not like I won't be able to use them. But there's something to be said about cranking up 100 watts through a 412 and just letting it rip. Mikey Gabbard says, I replaced the grill cloth on my Katana 50 with some red sequin fabric. Okay. I would think that those sequins would be rattling around a little bit too much on the front of it, but interesting. All right. William De Silva says, hey, Robert, have you heard of ENS Guitars, ENNS? I just bought the double cut electric. It's awesome. He's currently making Yamaha's high-end acoustics, formerly the head luthier at Cordoba. No. Maybe I have. Or I'm thinking of somebody. I think there's a guitar brand. I've seen them on Facebook, and called like NZENXI or something like that. I don't know if that's the same company. ENNS. That I'm not familiar with. So assuming that's not a typo, I'm going to say no. But I'm always open to checking out new guitar brands. Paul Fuchs says, can you do special deals on new Fenders? I don't know what you're referring to. If this is what I do, I get asked a lot about my shop and where I'm located. I don't have a shop. When all the videos you see with all the guitars and stuff hanging up behind me, that's a room in my house. That's all my gear. So I don't have a shop, unfortunately. If that's what you're asking anyway. So I do work in the MI business. I do work for a Fender dealer, but in the interest of no conflicts of interest. I always keep that aspect and this aspect completely separate. So there are people that know what I do for a living, who I work for, and stuff like that. I mean, it's not like it's a secret, but I don't need to promote that here for just to prevent any kind of conflict of interest. So. Joey Van Ostrin says, screw that name, it's shame. You have a lot of limp wrists. No spine whatsoever. I don't know. Yeah, trolls do suck. Unfortunately, there are people out there that have that much time on their hands. That AJ Burketti douchebag has been harassing me on YouTube and Facebook and anywhere else. I had to block another one of his accounts earlier this week. So, Mikey Gabbard says, I never rocked Nickelback at home. I did, man. I actually like Nickelback. I mean, no, they're not virtuoso musicians, but I always, I mean, they've got quite a few songs I've always enjoyed. I've even played a few of them live. I don't think they're a bad band at all. I don't know why they get the rap, why they get all the hate that they do. It's like Five Finger Death Punch, man. There's another band that a lot of people hate for some reason I can't figure out. If you don't like their music, fine, but they take a lot of unwarranted heat. Those guys are good musicians. So, Joey says, I had a moped when I was younger. Her name was Corita. Thunder Falcons here says, Ace Frehley says Bruce Kulick is better than Tommy Thayer. I read that, actually. I don't even care, but that Epiphone Tommy Thayer Electric Blue Les Paul sure gets a lot of comments, and I like it a lot. I actually agree with Ace. I think Bruce is the best guitarist that Kiss has ever had. By a wide margin, too. I don't think number 2 is even close. Bruce Kulick is a monster guitar player. And honestly, at that period in the 80s, because before, they had that brief, one album, I think, maybe, with Mark St. John, and one, maybe 2 albums before that with Vinnie Vincent. Both of those guys are good guitar players, but, when they got Bruce Kulick, that was in the era where, if you weren't shredding, you weren't playing. And, they brought in Bruce, and, just remember, just go listen to it. We'll go listen to the solos on, God, what the hell's the name of that album? What was the album with Domino on it? I can't remember the name of that record, but off the top of my head, for some reason, it's one of my favorite Kiss records. But go listen to that one versus, solos of, any of those other guys that are on there, that they've had. And all great guitar players. I'm a diehard Kiss fan. I have nothing negative to say about any of them. But Ace is right. Bruce is the best one that they had. But Tommy's signature Les Paul is pretty cool. But I'm a little hesitant to hype up any of Tommy Thayer's signature gears, because there was one time when I was still at the store. This dude came in on. I think it was a Friday night, and he bought a Gibson Explorer because the Kiss convention was in town the next day, and he wanted to take it down there and get Tommy's autograph on it. So he came in and bought a brand new Gibson Explorer, and that's a pretty decent guitar to sell on a Friday night, right? So, well, he ends up bringing it back Saturday night because he did get to meet Tommy Thayer, and before Tommy signed it, which he never did. He looked at the dude and said, "You mean you're not going to wait for my signature model to come out?" Which didn't come out for years later. And, so rather than have the dude autograph that guitar, he returned it. And I wasn't real happy about that. So I told the Gibson rep about that years later. And, he's like, if I had known about that at the time, I would have reported that. So, not a huge deal, but and I get why he did it, but still, not cool. People who sell guitars for a living, man. If you're an artist and you got a signature model out there, don't do anything that's gonna cost that's gonna cost the guy who sold a guitar to eat a return like that. We eat enough of them as it is because guitar players can't make up the damn minds. So that's why it's so damn hard to make money in the EMI business. Topher T says the internet frowns on calling out trolls, but I understand why you wouldn't do more videos of that sort. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've got some. I haven't decided yet. I haven't thought about it, or I have thought about it, but I don't know. I just I'm not done thinking about it. So. Doc Amos Roxy hitting up the super chat says, "Hey, I want to mess with the trolls. RGD is a good channel for regular dudes." Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Speaking of trolls, James Severns here, doing good, sir. About yourself? All About Guitars says hello from Brazil. What's up, man? Welcome to you. I don't think I've seen him in a live chat before. I assume it's a him anyway. That thumbnail is literally about the size of an eraser head on my screen, but it looks like a male viewer. Doc Amos Roxy says, "Why so late? I forgot to tune in just seeing this live stream. I had a previous engagement this morning in early afternoon that I had to take care of. My wife left for a trip today, so I had to take her to the airport. And I was right in the middle of when I'd usually start my live stream. So and I don't live close to the airport here. I mean, we're almost an hour away from it. So that's, the drive alone was almost 2 hours. Brennan Elton says, "I know your troll is an entertaining feature. Thanks for answering it. It's that's kind of how I've always looked at it. Is nobody else, everybody else is the high road is to ignore them and ignore those people and not sink to their level. And I've always looked at it as I'm not sinking to any levels, but I'm not going to be a doormat for anybody either. And if nobody else is willing to take them head on, why not embrace them myself, right? That's kind of always been the way that I've perceived it. But if it's not being perceived if it's not being perceived that way, or being perceived differently from people who are actually watching them, and it's turning people off, whether it's my attention or not, which is obviously it wouldn't be, but it's one of those things. Perception is reality, right? I haven't determined if that's the case yet or not, but. Epic Esquire says, "Heading out for a family dinner. Have a good one, dude. Enjoy dinner. I am going to hang out here with you guys for a while, and then my dinner plans this evening involve ordering my weight in Mexican food since I got the house to myself." And there's a place, pardon me, there's a place just around the corner from here that's doing curbside pickup, so I can take Zoe with me. Zoe and her cone of shame. I can take her with me and not have to leave her alone. And go get some food and come back and eat. Thunder Falcon says, "I like both Bruce and Tommy." I do too. I like Tommy Thayer quite a bit. There's honestly, I think Tommy has nobody's played Ace's solos or songs to perfection any better than Tommy Thayer did. Or has. So, let's not forget. I mean, Tommy Thayer's a good guitar player. He was in Black and Blue before he was in Kiss. And that was, if you're not familiar with them, they were a great band. What was the big hit that they had back in the 80s? Hold On to 18. Great song. But I like Tommy Thayer quite a bit. but he wasn't. He was nowhere near as good as Bruce Kulick, in my opinion. All About Guitar says how many songs, how many techniques, and how many gear EVH gave. Oh yeah, if I'm understanding you right, I think you're asking how much, essentially everything that Eddie Van Halen contributed to the instrument and the industry, and it's a long list. I mean, to my knowledge, Eddie Van Halen was the first one to come up with the two-handed finger tapping technique. Hendrix and lots of other people. Hendrix is credited by a lot of people, and I've heard a lot of other people disagree with this, but Hendrix is credited with the first guy to do the first one finger tap or two finger tap, but Eddie's the first guy that got his pick hand involved, to my knowledge. Among other things that he was doing. He was also a guy that was, he wasn't pounding power chords all over the place. He was taking different parts of different bar chords, and kind of combining. He used power chords too, of course, but he was kind of combining, those with some more, traditional like jazz, almost jazz chords and stuff like that. He was very, very versatile and very classically trained musician. As far as all the gear that he helped to innovate, I mean, just the way that he innovated the guitar alone. God, the Floyd Rose. I mean, he was the guy that married, as Steve Vai put it one time. He married the whammy bar and the Floyd Rose tremolo. Or I'm sorry, he married. Steve Vai said he married the whammy bar and the humbucker. So, of course, he was very well known for that. The D-tune, all the, the Wolfgang stuff that he designed, going all the way back to the Axis with Ernie Ball, Music Man, all the Wolfgang stuff. There's a lot of things that he that he contributed to. There's a reason why. Anybody in this, that's in this thread, I'm sure can name, can rattle off a list of 20 great guitar players, and we're all going to know who at least most of them are, if not all of them. But my mom knows who Eddie Van Halen is, right? Eddie Van Halen was a household name. Everybody knows who Eddie Van Halen, whether you're a guitar player or not, whether you're even a musician or not. Everybody knows who Eddie Van Halen is, and everybody knows why they know who Eddie Van Halen is because he was a monster guitar player. They may not be that familiar with all of his his innovations with building guitars and amps and stuff like that we are, but they all know that he was regarded as one of the greatest guitar players to walk this planet. So 65 is an awfully young age for a guy like him to go. Granted, I know he smoked cigarettes heavily for a large chunk of his life, but still, yeah, he gave us a lot, man. He gave us a lot. I still honestly, I still can't believe he's gone. So, Joey says Bruce is an astounding player. Tommy's no slouch by any means. Ace is my favorite just because of who he is. Yeah, my favorite. Well, God, I don't know. My favorite. Of all the Kiss songs that when I was playing in cover bands real often, I always kind of gravitated towards the Ace Frehley era stuff. Because I always loved Ace Frehley. The first time when I learned the solo to She, and I could play it front to back, and to my ear anyway, sounded pretty close to what I was hearing on the record. I was an experienced enough rhythm player to be able to tell the difference. I thought that was pretty big shit to me, But then there's some things that Bruce Kulick does that I can't touch a lot of the solos that he played. So. Davey Rock says Randall RG original versus Randall RG 100H. 150 or 300. Any difference in the ones Dime used versus the new reissues? I've never A-B'd them, to be honest with you. I mean, the new, my understanding is the newer ones that are out right now are much more modern sounding. They don't, part of me is kind of surprised they even call them the same amp, Like I said, I've never heard the two of them side by side, and I've never heard anybody get even the original, the old USA RGs from the '80s. I'd never heard anybody get that kind of sound out of them that Dime did. So, are there any differences? I mean, there clearly are. I couldn't, as far as what the internal differences might be as far as circuitry and stuff goes. I don't have any idea what that might be, but the new ones sound. I think the new ones sound a lot more modern. Really, and as they should. I mean, there's especially the price point that those amps are sold at. Those are, I mean, it's going to be younger metal players that are buying those. There's guys, metal guys in their 50s. Most of those guys aren't going to be too interested in those. So. James Severin says Robert's a troll slayer. He might be a stretch, but Mikey Gabber says Oli posted a pic over on r/katana. I don't know what that is. All About Guitars says today I've seen a Telecaster by a brand called Triumph. Looks great, but is it any good? I've heard of them, but I haven't played them. I couldn't tell you. I have heard of them. I think they're what is that the what's that? They might be a brand out of South America or something like that. I can't remember. I have heard of them, but I can't tell you a whole lot about them. Honestly. Rock 5150 says D Hungam, see that means DH Gate. Shows a Frankenstein for around $350. Just wondering if you've seen one of these or actually know anybody that has one. Is the Floyd Rose really made out of metal? Made in China. I'm sure the Floyd's made out of metal, but I mean it's a counterfeit guitar. It's not real. So I mean take that with a grain of salt. What you're seeing. And one thing I've noticed about those, the DH Gates, the AliExpress, those websites. I mean they'll post photos of legitimate EVH guitars and Gibson guitars, and I mean they'll post photos of the actual stock photos from Gibson, and I fell into that trap one time. I thought I was buying a fake Gibson that looked just like a custom for $200 or $300 or whatever it was I was paying, and what I got was not what was in the photos at all. Matter of fact, I remember the seller, after I left a bad review on that transaction, the seller emailed me cussing me out left and right. So he was not happy. I guess at that time anyway, that put his account on hold. But hey, if you're gonna post pictures of one thing and then you're gonna ship another. I never did have any sympathy for him, and I still don't. So. Be careful. If they on that website, if they look like stock photos, from the actual manufacturer that they're ripping off, they probably are. I'm not opposed to buying. I'm not opposed to counterfeit guitars, by the way. I own a couple of Gibsons, but I am opposed to buying them with the intention of trying to pass them off as authentic when they're not. Okay, that ain't cool. Doc Amos Roxy says bought a $30 after tax Dumble pedal. Don't know what a fumble sounds like, but for $30, I love it. Pedals, cheap pedals in that price range though. I mean, I don't know. Joyo seems to have, cracked the code on that, but really, really inexpensive pedals. I mean, we all know $30 Joyo pedals or less that sound killer. What is that? The Ultimate Drive, their OCD clone. If you guys didn't see it, I did a video A-being that pedal with an actual OCD, two versions of the OCD actually. It's a year and a half or so ago, and That thing sounds really, really good. I don't, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say it sounded better than than the actual OCDs, but it certainly didn't sound any worse. Paul Fuchs says, I meant, does Fender give retailers leeway to discount new guitars? Yes. Yes, they do. They are not a. There's a couple of different terms that you might hear. Price protected, meaning, there's a couple. Price protected is the common term. That consumers would relate to. Internally. A lot of retailers will call it UPP, which stands for Universal Pricing Protection. And if it's a UPP brand, that means nobody's allowed to discount them. Period. And if a dealer discounts something from that particular brand, the Bose and Apple are probably two of the most notorious ones. Most people know Mesa Boogie as well. Most people know that retail. You pay the price tag. There is no discounts on those. So. But yeah, Fender is not one of those. So the reason why a lot of those brands do put that policy out there for their dealers is because they don't make a whole lot of money anyway. And if the dealer starts discounting, if they knock 15% off of like Apple especially, there's no money to be made in Apple products at all. If a dealer knocks 15% off on an Apple product, they're just about selling it at cost, if not below. And if it's if they're paying a commission-based salesperson, they're losing money at that point. And and again, that's on the manufacturers. So because we all know Apple ain't hurting for money, but they sure as hell are gouging the shit out of their dealers. So that's the reason why a lot of those brands will. One reason why, anyway, a lot of those brands will implement that policy, and also, other brands like Mesa Boogie, for example, Mesa doesn't gouge their dealers, at dealer cost. They don't make a ton, but they make a fair amount at the dealer level. They make a fair amount of profit margin, But Mesa's motivation behind that is, number one, they won't even allow two different stores within, I think, 75 miles or something to carry their product. And they also implement that price protection policy because, Mesa Boogie does not want to be competing against each other. If it's going to be a Guitar Center, Guitar Center doesn't carry them anymore, but, if it's going to be a Music Go Round, for example, that some Music Go Rounds do carry Mesa Boogie versus, I don't know if Sweetwater carries them or not, but I think they do. But if it's going to be a Music Go Round location versus Sweetwater, it's going to be, whoever gets that sale from that, from a customer that's interested, that's going back and forth, it's going to be another factor that determines that customer's decision, not the price that they get on the Mesa Boogie amplifier that they're interested in. So. And that, honestly, that I can absolutely get on board with that. If I were, if I were a brand selling in, multiple dealers like that, I would strongly consider implementing that policy myself. So. William Silva says it's ENNS. So, okay. The guitar brand he mentioned earlier. So I got the Wingy Top Double Cut. This is the cleanest, most gorgeous guitar I've ever owned or played. They're handmade. You should check them out sometime. His acoustics are top notch. Yeah, send me a link or something. And I don't know. What do they cost? I'm curious to know what their price points are and where they're sold. But yeah, certainly love to check them out. One thing to be, Joey jumped in on this in the chat, but one thing to be aware of right now is a lot of retailers were shut down for 3 months, and a lot of them are really reluctant to offer any like significant discounts on anything right now. So keep that in mind. James Severn says just bought the new vintage brand V100 25th anniversary Silverburst. They're only making 100 worldwide, and it's been stuck in customs coming from the UK. Yep, good old customs. They're there for a reason. I'm glad they're there I'm glad they're there to do their thing. But at the same time, when you're waiting on a new guitar or something and it's something stuck in customs, it's a huge pain in the ass. William Sylvia says, nah, Nickelback, not my thing, but I'd say they're good songwriters, if I'm honest, just not into the pop sound. Yeah, and that's kind of how I view them, and you don't need to be a huge virtuoso musician to be a great songwriter. I mean, Kurt Cobain proved that. I think Nickelback are kind of that same mold. They may not be virtuoso musicians by any means, but they play their instruments well enough to be able to write and construct songs on them, and those songs that they write and construct on those are filling up stadiums. So, concurrent viewers. No viewers, that's weird. Okay, where'd everybody go? Did I lose my connection? Okay, now we're up to 47. Weird. Yeah, okay, that scared me for a second. All of a sudden it said 0, and then all of a sudden it said 47. So, hell, I don't know. Tony Pepper's in the house. What's up, dude? How are you? One of my very favorite pedal makers. One of the best distortion pedals that I have ever demoed on my channel, one of the ones that I've liked the best, was the Satanist Distortion. So that's the only one of your pedals that I own, unfortunately. But you've got a couple of others that are certainly on my radar. But yeah, everybody say hi to Tony. Good dude. He's a great dude, great guy. Great guy, and awesome pedals, and actually does. I discovered this week that you've had a hand in quite a few other fairly popular boutique pedal designs that are out there right now, such as the Highwind Direwolf. I didn't realize that you were involved in that as well. So. Oh, let's see. AJ aged. He is to be the most impressive liar I've ever encountered. I don't know who you're referring to. Unless you're talking about that troll that I mentioned earlier. Let's see. Dave Escobar is here. What's up, dude? BudgetGuitarist.com says, I think the album's you're right. It was the Revenge album. Kiss Revenge. Thank you. I could see it right there in front of me, and I had that. I can't believe I forgot the name of that record. I had that poster of that album cover. I mean, they made a great big poster that I actually, I got the dude at the record store to give to me. I had that thing hanging on my bedroom wall, when I was a kid for years. I can't believe I forgot the name of that record. But yeah, that was it. It was the Revenge album. One of my all-time favorite Kiss records. All About Guitar says, even if I didn't like Eddie, my favorite guitarist, Jerry Cantrell, is a big fan of him. How can I not respect him anyway? I love EVH, was a master blaster. Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people are, man. I mean, EVH wasn't my favorite guitar player either, though I certainly, absolutely respect him. Jerry Cantrell is on my list of top 5 favorite guitar players, but and I always respected Eddie Van Halen. I mean, as much as anybody else, like you said. I mean, how can you not? It's Eddie Van Halen, right? Um, yeah, he didn't have to be everybody's favorite guitar player for anybody to understand, who he was and why he was great, right? Rick Beato says there is a Gibson Rick Beato signature coming soon. Good for him, man. I mean, he deserves it. He just well, he recently crossed over the 1 million viewer mark, and I think he hit 2 after that. There seems to be, Jared Dines did the same thing, and I think so did Stevie T. There seems to be something that once you cross over 1 million subscribers, YouTube all that seems to give YouTube a great big huge boner, and they promote your channel like wildfire at that point. So I mean, I likely will never get there, but my channel grows awfully slow. So that's primarily doing pedal demos like I have been the last few years. I mean, that's to be expected because everybody does pedal demos because they're easy to get a hold of. You can buy them and sell them pretty easily, and move them in and out, and it's especially when you're getting started, it's pedals are a good way to keep generating content, which is why I started demoing them. I ran out of my own gear and ran out of guitars and stuff to demo, and I had to start doing pedals. And then anyway, but there's so many people out there doing pedal demos on YouTube nowadays. Kind of a crowded market. But yeah, good to hear that Rick's got a signature guitar on the way out, man. That's awesome. Good for him. Glad to see the the big YouTube channels getting some love. Jared Dines just had a signature Sterling guitar come out as well, and I think Andy, the Guitar Geek, I think he just did something recently with Harley Benton. I think they've got a LP Junior double cut model or something something out that he was involved in. So. Thunder Falcon says trolls are the devil's anus. There's something, man. It's to quote the famous Alec Guinness. When it comes to YouTube comments, the comment sections on YouTube, you will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. When it comes to perusing comment sections. Anthony Finch said, "What did I miss? Why is the guy trolling you?" It's the dude's. Why is the guy trolling me? I mean, I've determined he's just batshit crazy. I mean, it's certifiable. Is what what it came down to, because it was with that particular guy. It was weird because he watched my videos for a long time, and every time he commented, never always had nice things to say, and never said anything negative. I had this other guy, with the real classy screen name of Dr. Peter Gozinia, douchebag. And, that dude always left asshole comments, always. And, I know that the first guy that I just mentioned, AJ, seemed to have a brother named Joseph. And I was talking with... I was talking with Lucas from I can't remember the name of Lucas's channel. actually, I think his channel might just be named after, might just be his name. But I was talking to Lucas Fowler, and he started, sharing screenshots of some of, some of the trolls that he's gotten on his channel. And his channel, and my channel, are right about the same size. And he posted a couple of them from both of these guys. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, AJ Ricchetти, that guy's always been real cool to me. What's going on? And then he posted, then this guy. And he discovered that just by different ways that they said they said certain things, he had already determined this and pointed it out to me. But it was the same. They were all the same guy, and he even shared a few other accounts with some other names that were also the same dude. And so the guy's got like 20 different accounts, that on YouTube, and I don't know if I've got them all blocked yet or not, but. For whatever reason, when I finally discovered that he was the same guy and I called him out on it, he tried to lie about it and hide it. And then he got, and then all of a sudden the guy that I thought was the cool guy, all of a sudden he got pissed and started insulting me. You two guys are nobodies. It's our mission to, our personal mission to put you guys in your place. And, which I'm still here. So, good job there. But, so is everybody else, by the way. I don't know, man. And it just went from there. Finally, it got to the point that, he was, I think what I was talking about, an old effects processor, some kind that somebody had asked me about, like I think somebody asked me about an old Boss GT6 or GT8 or something, and what I said was, they were, if you like processors, those were considered to be pretty decent processors in their time. Same with the Line 6 Pod XT and X3. Those were all considered to be pretty good processors at the time that that they were out. If you like processors, I don't, so take that for what it's worth. But if you do like effects processors, they were considered to be good processors at the time that they were current. Technology since then has advanced quite a bit, and those are all of those I just mentioned are now obsolete. Well, that pissed him off significantly. And, that led to all kinds of different verbal attacks. And, he just got this huge boner that he had to prove to me that, he's a far superior guitar player than I am. And he could very well be. I don't have any idea. Could very well be, and let's face it, if he is a far superior guitar player, that's not an exclusive club. But if he is, I asked him numerous times, what's something you've recorded? What's show me a video of a show you played, and he never could post anything, by the way. But then it got to the point that he actually challenged me to a guitar duel of some kind. And I said yes numerous times, and he conveniently ignored those and kept calling me a pussy and a chicken and all that stuff, saying that I'm not, I wouldn't accept his challenge, even though I did numerous times. And then he started attacking me on Facebook, and that led to all kinds of all kinds of getting cussed out, and the guy's just absolutely. Like I said, he's certifiably insane. There is no way about it. If I had to guess, it's probably it seemed like a classic case of alcoholism, is what it sounded like to me. Absolute. The guy is absolutely miserable. So. Yeah, I ran across some crazy people in my life, and that dude's, I don't know, he's on the list. Definitely on the list. So, why he's got such a hard on for me, I have no idea. Oh, let's see. Hey, you guys are chatty all of a sudden. I may need to take a second to get caught up here. Best I can anyway. Rock5150 says, I didn't know Rick Beato studied jazz guitar when he was real young. Interesting story. Rick's one of those guys that has done literally everything, he's, of course he's nowadays he's best known for, he's best known as a producer in Atlanta. But he's done all kinds of touring and played all kinds of guitar across all different kinds of genres. He's a really, really talented guy. He's just that guy that is, he's that guy that's just literally done everything, you know. Um, yeah, Rick. I've never met him, and matter of fact, I've never even communicated with him directly or anything. But he's a yeah. I like Rick quite a bit. I'm a fan. He's a really really talented guy, and he knows how the business works too. JG Mopar says, "Dang late again. Try to make it on time. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm late. This started way late today, as I mentioned earlier. So we've been hovering over 40 viewers here for the last half hour or so. Maybe not quite that long, but you guys do seem to like this later afternoon thing for some reason. So I don't know that I'd be able to do this in the late afternoon all the time, though, is the thing. Gus says, my grandma always says, kill them with kindness, take the high road, they will go away. I'm assuming you're referring to trolls, and and that's, I know as a society we're probably taught that's the right thing to do, but I also have issues with not, with just standing there and taking it and not standing up for myself too. So, Gargoyle 84 says, funniest moment you had while playing a gig. Oh boy, let's see. Fortunately, I haven't had too many gig mishaps. One time I remember playing a venue here in town called the Rock House, which isn't there anymore. We're up on stage, and we're just, we were just, I don't even remember what song we were playing, but it was a rock cover band kind of thing. All of a sudden, something, you could see it was kind of this long bar, as opposed to like a square room. It was like more rectangle, with the pretty decent sized stage down at one end of it. And then the bar and the kitchen were over here. If you're standing on the stage and looking out across, the bar and the kitchen were over here off to this side. And then the bar kind of jutted out in the middle of the floor where drinks and stuff were served. But the big story here this night though was the kitchen, because we're up there in the middle of the song, and all of a sudden we all looked over at the same time, and the kitchen's on fire. And something, don't know what happened, but somebody smoked something in the kitchen. Somebody caught something on fire. And the food there was not great anyway, and it's not really a mystery why that place is closed now. But something caught fire, and we're sitting there mid song and looking around. It was late, and the place was kind of wasn't real packed by that point anyway. But nobody's doing anything. Everybody's just sitting there chilling, figured somebody else will take care of it. Finally, we finished the song that we were playing, and Dino, the other guitar player, Dino is probably the best guitar player that I know, by the way. Dino took his guitar off and set it on the stand, and of all people, he's the guy, oh, there goes my light. He jumps off the stage, goes and runs back to the kitchen, and grabs a fire extinguisher and says, hey, let's maybe try putting this thing out first, see if we can do something. Maybe call the fire department and the owners of the place. Might be a good idea. Nobody was doing anything. Finally, of all people, the guy that's playing guitar at the gig, jumps off stage and starts directing traffic about what to do about this damn fire in the kitchen. That's the first one that came, that's the first one that came to mind anyway. Hang on a second, I'm gonna change the battery in that light. There we go. Sorry about that. Let's see. Somebody hit the super chat here, but it's Casey Streams again. What's up, man? So, what's your favorite Colts player of all time? I'm a Falcons fan, but I've always loved Marvin Harrison. Oh, Peyton Manning, no question. And Peyton Manning is the reason why, is the reason why football, because in Indianapolis, and he's even said this before he came. In Indianapolis, it was basketball. I mean, this is Indiana's basketball country, so it was basketball, really more college than pro. It was basketball, auto racing, because the Indianapolis 500, of course, we're the home of that, and then maybe football, right? But after after Peyton got here, and after a few years, all of a sudden, this became an NFL town, and it's still an NFL town. And even though he's been gone for years now, and we've since gone through Andrew Luck, and now we're in the midst of the Phil Rivers era, which will probably won't last more than a year or two. Probably a couple of years if I had to guess, because I don't think there's anybody in the draft coming up next year that Ballard's just got to have. So I think we're going to ride the Phil Rivers train for a few more years until he's done, and see who comes up in the draft that's going to be worth grabbing. But favorite player of all time would be Peyton Manning, and there's a number of reasons why. Of course, in my opinion, I think he's the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. But actually, over there on that wall, I actually have an autographed football from him to me, and at that time, the punter for the Colts was a guy named Hunter Smith, and I didn't know this at the time, but I went to high school with a gal named Jenny Smith, and at the grocery store that I worked at when I was a kid, her mom came in and went grocery shopping all the time, so I knew her mom real well, knew Jenny pretty well, and Jenny came in one year, Kathy, her mom, came in one year right before Christmas, says, "Do you like the Colts?" And I said, "Yeah, of course. I watch the Colts every Sunday." She said, "Okay, cool." And then she said, "Good to see you." And then she turned around and left. Well, the day, it was Christmas Eve, and she pulls up, and she hands me, she says, "Here you go, I got this for you for Christmas. I'm sorry I didn't have time to wrap it." And I pull it out of the box, and it was this, this white-walled football that says, "To Robert, from Peyton, all my best, number 18. And I couldn't believe what I was holding, right? The guy was already a legend at that point. And, I couldn't believe what I was holding. I couldn't, I asked her how she got it. Well, it turns out her daughter Jenny had married Hunter, and Kathy was originally just going to have Hunter autograph it. He's like, he's not going to want mine. He's not going to want my autograph. He's going to want Peyton's. So he said, let me take it to practice with me, and I'll get Peyton to sign it. So that's what he did, and she gave it to me for Christmas that year, and I've got it framed up on a shelf. I've got a special shelf for it here in my my Colts loft. It's a very, very special thing that I probably one of, if not the nicest thing that I've ever been given. So. It still means a lot to me to this day, and I've actually met Hunter a few times since then, and I finally got to thank him in person about 8 years ago, I think it was. So, pardon me. Yep. So definitely Peyton Manning. Let's see. JG Mopar says California is the best Mexican food. I've never been to California, but I assume they would have pretty good Mexican food. Says now I want tacos. I think I'm going burrito, dude. There's this place down the road. They got this. They call it a burrito, as big as your face, and I think that's probably the direction I'm gonna have to go. So. All My Guitar says, have you seen a video of Jerry Cantrell with Duff McKagan playing a country song together? I have not. Interesting. A couple of rock guys from the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s playing a country tune together. Weird. No, I'll check that out. Rock 5150 says, but where the PV 5150 made in the U.S., just wondering if they were building this in other countries. I never heard of it, but Like the EVH guitars are made all around the world. Yes, they were. Let's see, the 5150s were primarily made. They were all made in the U.S. And they're Peavy's located down in was it Meridian, Mississippi, I think is where they are. Um, and they, all the 5150s, 6505s were all made in the U.S. right up until probably in the last 3 or 4 years, and they moved production of those amps over to China. So, and I think now they're all made in China. I've been told that the new Invectives are made in the U.S., but I've also been told the opposite as well. I need to just look at a photo and see, or look at the back of one, see if I can figure it out. BudgetGuitarist.com says EVH invented the Super Strat, didn't he? More or less, I guess you could say that. His old Frankenstein was. Hang on a second here. Sending Mrs. Jackson a text. She's about halfway to her destination. The Frankenstein really was a Strat body with, probably a Strat neck or something, that he ripped all the guts out of and dropped a humbucker into. So, the argument can be made. Which essentially that is what a Super Strat is. The Super Strat kind of evolved into a Strat-shaped guitar with, a humbucker of some kind. But yes, I suppose the argument could be made that EVH invented the Super Strat. Christopher Bass is here. Doc Amos Roxy's out. See you, dude. Thanks for hanging out for a bit. Christopher Bass says Alex Lifeson was so good at harmonics, he wrote a song in F sharp specifically to put a certain chord in the song and to get a harmonic squeal from his solo. Alex Lifeson was a great guitar player as well. Tom Morello is known to do that too. He'll write a song in F sharp specifically because he's got a. I don't think the key had anything to do with, just happened to be where that particular chord that he was writing the song around was based on. Let's see. Christopher Morrow has joined the soiree. What's up, dude? Christopher Bass says RG80 needs a tube screamer and a 7-band EQ. Does the dime tone easy? I don't know. The parametric EQ really suck out, boost the mids, but it's all there if you know how to get it. Interesting. Okay. Anthony Finch says original RG on his own is nowhere close to what people expect from him. Cool amps, but not the beast that Dime turned them into. That's been my experience with him. He used a lot of external effects and stuff to get that sound out of it, and the amp by itself, if you just go pick up an RG80 or an RG200 or a Century 100, those are the three that he used the most. You just go pick one of those up. You're not just gonna be able to plug into it and automatically sound like Dimebag. There's more than a few other elements involved. Rondo Bondo is here. What's up, dude? $5. Rick Rock 5150 says, not to offend anybody with a PV guitar, but I think they should have changed the headstock. To me, it wasn't that appealing compared to Fender, Kramer, and all those back in the 80s. I have heard that PV is actually planning on re-releasing. It's going to be with a different name, of course, but they are re-releasing what they used to call the Wolfgangs. Now, are they imports? Are they they make them in the U.S.? That I don't know. Not sure, but regardless, I thought it was pretty cool that they're talking about re-releasing them. And that was my understanding. That was supposed to happen earlier this year, and then the pandemic hit, and that screwed a lot of things up for a lot of companies, unfortunately. Christopher Bass says, Robert, why are Randall products extremely expensive at some retailers and not a Guitar Center musician's friend? That I can't tell you. That likely has something to do with whatever deal that the GC and musician's friend guitar buyers worked out with Randall. So, Randall's not a real small company. They've been around a long time. And they are able, especially those RG amplifiers. Some of those are, they're able to be mass produced, and if GC says, GC says we're willing to buy X number bulk amount, what kind of break can we get? In which case, if they get a real good break, then they might drop the price on it to be a little bit more competitive against everybody else. In other instances, it could be stuff that they've just been sitting on for a while and they want to get rid of it because it's not selling, so they'll drop the price on it. Just depends. But inventory for everybody has been such a battle this year. I don't think anybody's trying to clear. I think most retailers are trying to fill space in their warehouses right now and get caught up on back orders. Paul Adamek says, where are Full-Tone products made? California. You're right here in the good old US of A. They are all American. That's an all American made company. Owned by Mike Fuller. Hey, Jeff Parker's here. Says, hey, Robert, you're late today. Question for you. Ever use any of the Floyd upgrades from Futon? If so, Floyd upgrades from Futon. I'm not familiar with them, so no. I'm not. You guys know how I am about. I don't like hacking up or modding. Too many of my guitars if I can avoid it. I prefer it to be everything I want it to be right out of the box. So, it's just not my thing anymore. I was into it a lot more when I was younger, but All About Guitar says, how's the price of Jerry Cantrell's G&L made in USA? I haven't seen one. If you're talking G&L's, you were talking about Jerry Cantrell's Rampage. It's out of production now because he recently left G&L and went to Gibson. So, there's I don't know what those things sold for. Probably in the $2,000 range, if I had to guess. I don't know what they sell for in the used market. A USA version anyway. The imports are all over the place, but I haven't seen a USA Jerry Cantrell G&L in years. I have no idea what those things are bringing on the used market right now. I am pretty sure though, if and when they come out with if and when Gibson comes out with a Jerry Cantrell signature model, and I hope they do it in the Gibson line and they don't. Gibson lately, the last few years, all their signature models they all seem to be Epiphones. So I hope they actually give them a Gibson signature model. In which case, I don't. That one's going to be expensive. I bet you that'll sell for $3,000 at least. Pardon me. Christopher Bass says Guitar Center's website will allow an excluded from discount item with a coupon if there is a price drop on the item. Correct. They haven't done coupons in forever, though. Again, that's another product of 2020. You know, their Guitar Center I know is real protective of profit margin right now because you go 3 months with almost all 300 of your stores closed, and and tell me how much you feel like discounting right now. So I don't blame them for that at all. Christopher Bass says, "Why, Robert? Maybe we should do this later. Bigger crowd than last week for sure. Bigger crowd than the last couple of weeks actually. Last couple of weeks we've been hovering right around 40, and I don't know if we've cracked 50 today. I think I've only cracked 50 one time, so I haven't quite gotten over 50. Looks like 48's been the most so far today, but yeah, I would I would certainly consider it. Like I said, the problem with me this time of day is real tough for me because this is usually like right around when my wife's getting home from work, and she's it's just better for me if I do this when she's not here because number one, she doesn't want to be anywhere near it, anywhere near a microphone or a camera when I'm on. She values her privacy a lot more than I do, and which is okay. When she comes home on Saturdays, that means that's husband time, so that's not YouTube time. Dave Escobar says, Robert, which Charvels do you own? I remember you said you had or have a Model 5. I do have a Model 5, and I also I've got a Model 5 from mine's an 87. I've got a Model 5, and I've got a Desolation series, which is an import made in Indonesia, I think. Or China. I think those were made in China. I've got the SK1 Skatecaster, which is the upper end of that line. It was the neck through constructed model with the EMGs, active EMGs. So those are the only two Charvels that I have. I don't have a Pro Mod or anything like that, unfortunately, but I do like them both. I do like them both quite a bit. The Desolation series, especially, I've said this before. I don't know why they quit making them. There was, I got to assume that Fender, Jackson, Charvel, whichever brand is calling the shots for the Charvel brand is. I got to assume they were losing too much on them because you were getting a lot of guitar with a lot of really 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 cool features and appointments for the price that you're paying for those. So it was a really really good value. So I got to assume they were just giving up too much. Southern Gentleman says, "Have you tried any of the Jet City amps? And so, what are your thoughts?" Yeah, they're cool. They're I haven't heard one in a while. There for a while, it seemed they had this little 5-watt head that seemed to be that was like the only one that I ever saw anywhere. And those things, are I saw those goddamn Jet City 5-watt heads everywhere, and they didn't sound bad, but they weren't mind blowing by any means. But then when a little bit later on when they came out with the bigger ones, the 100 watters and the 50 watters and even the 20s, and then they went through a couple of different design changes with those. What was the JC, the JC 20 or 22? I can't remember what it was, what the model is, JC 22H or something. Those are good sounding amps. I like those. I like those quite a bit. So good rock amps. They're Soldano designs. How bad could they be? Tony Pepper says, "I'm the man behind the curtain." I'm, to give you guys an idea how far behind I am in the chat. When I happened to glance down towards the bottom when Tony first popped in here, and now I'm just now scrolling down to where he was actually in for the hang and commenting here and there. He says, "I'm the man. I'm like the man behind the curtain." I don't know if he's still hanging with us here or not, but. Let's see. Rondo Bondo says, where do I go to buy your pedal? Down below, Tony Pepper says he posted it above, but I don't see it anywhere, which makes me think YouTube may have blocked it if you put a link. I'll tell you what, if you go to my video, the video on my channel of the Pepper's Pedal Satanist Distortion, there's a link to that where you can buy that pedal, and I assume the rest of them in the description of that video. So that's the first. I've used that pedal in a few videos, but that's the first one I can think of that I know you'll find it. So that ought to take you to, because I can't remember what site Tony sells on. Well, Tony sells his pedals on, but it's not Reverb or anything like that. Let's see. Rock 5150 says Eddie Van Halen made guitar sales boom. I'll never forget it back in the 80s. Everybody had to have a guitar still today. That is true. He was probably, that may be, I don't know, man. I can certainly see the argument that he was the last individual that inspired that kind of a boom. But ever since, it's really never slowed down. Inspiration has definitely moved. Since that generation is, we're all buying guitars like wildfire. But because then it was, wasn't too long after that, Zakk Wylde started. I guess it was, late '80s, early '90s. Zakk Wylde started gaining popularity, and then the grunge era hit, and then everybody had to be Kurt Cobain, and of course, Metallica they've always had, they've always been inspiring, young guitar players, including me. Stevie Ray Vaughan, they're still, you can still walk into any guitar shop today and run into a Stevie Ray Vaughan clone. There's people from that era that would say none of those people inspired people the way that Eddie Van Halen did, and maybe they're right, but I don't know, man. The guitar is still the most popular instrument on the planet, and you got people saying the guitar is dead, and I think that that's old curmudgeon talk as far as I'm concerned. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. So. Tham's World is here. Says, hello, hope you're doing well today. GL3 is here. Says, let's go Astros. GL3 is one of my best buddies from childhood, and I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I am a lifelong Astros fan and have been my entire life, but I am still so pissed about that whole cheating scandal of their last World Series, because guys like me, I waited 40 years for that. I waited 40 years for them to finally win the World Series, and they finally did it. And then a couple years later, a huge cheating scandal comes out of it, and I'm still a little pissed about that. So, I'm not in a real big hurry to turn on an Astros game right now. I'm still not over it. Maybe I will tonight. I don't know. Maybe. I haven't decided, but that one stung. That was an insult to guys like me that, or guys and gals like me that have followed that team for decades. David Brown, okay. Sounds like somebody left a comment or sent me a private message about, I'm not sure what that is, but the very beginning of it doesn't sound like, sound very flattering. Hey, Waleed's here. What's up, dude? So just dropping by between two guitar takes. When it's pause, it's more guitar time. As usual, I'll catch the replay. Mitchell Tilly says, remember that time Blackie Lawless drank blood from that skull? I had that poster. Yeah, I remember that. Blackie Lawless did that. Wow. That dude was, I mean, that dude was like Ingrid Malmsteen arrogant. I mean, even Gene Simmons called him called that dude out on how arrogant he was when they were touring together at one point. JG Mopar says, "Butt doctor." Yes, we're referring to. Archer says, "Remember, if Richard is watching, don't be a dick." Thunder Falcon says, "Wow, Jason Hook out and Andy James in for Five Finger Death Punch." I heard last week that Jason Hook jumped ship, and I was actually shocked to hear that, which is too bad. You know, he's been. I mean, Jason Hook was like that glue piece that they had been looking for forever, and I don't know what. You know, maybe being in a band with Ivan for too long. Finally, you know, he just couldn't take it anymore. So, you know, they're down to, you know, I guess he wasn't an original member, but they're down to 2 original members anyway after Jeremy Spencer left. But yeah, so I mean, I'm sorry to see Jason Hook go. Andy James, I admit, I don't know who that is. I don't know anything about him or who he's played with or anything. But they're not going to hire a guitar player that sucks. So I'm sure it'll be fine. JD Mopar says, I think a long time ago I might have left a bad one about JCM 900s. A bad one, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, well. Doc Amos Roxy says, I support your channel. What IP? And again, I don't know what you mean by IP, but thank you very much for supporting the channel. And yes, you do. Absolutely. Absolutely you do. You are, you comment on just about every video and, you show up in these live streams just about every week in the chat. So, yeah, thank you for that. And he's not the only one, by the way. You know, that goes to anybody that also supports the channel in any way that they can. It really, really does mean a lot. So, let's see here. Tham's World says, I think I accidentally make a silly joke once you took it, or I'm sure I said it wrong. But yeah, I like your channel, what you do here. It's great. Thank you, sir. Christopher Bass says, Robert, do you know of a Rockman sound like pedal? Ugh, I don't. Actually. Yeah, I can't think of anything that sounds like a Rockman, other than a Rockman, you know. Yeah, I'd have to do some digging and ask around. You know, I'd hit up the pedal forums on Facebook about that. See what answers you might come up with. I don't know that anybody has a dedicated Rockman amp in a box type of or even not necessarily an amp in a box pedal, but a pedal that's even kind of sort of designed to sound like that. You know. So if not, can the headphone amp be plugged into a clean channel with the reissue and work well? I don't see. Well, I mean, will it work? I don't see why it wouldn't. Will it work well? That I couldn't tell you. I mean, a lot of that's going to depend on what amp's clean channel you're plugging it into. So, and anything else that's going to be in the signal chain, quite honestly. JG Mopar says, weapons grade dickhead. You guys are talking about my new favorite troll. Christopher Bass says, insanity is a legal defense, not a medical diagnosis. That's why he's a doctor. Oh, man. Damn it, YouTube. Give me a second to get caught up with you guys here. GL3 says, your hot licks set that kitchen ablaze, my brother. That was not me. That was, I assure you, that wasn't, if it was anybody, that would have been Dino's. Dino's a guy that can, shred flawlessly in his sleep. If you guys remember a band called Birdmen of Alcatraz, Dino was their guitar player. So that's Dino. Monster guitar player. Monster guitar player, and you'll never get him to. I mean, that's one. He's never been anything but. He doesn't. People tell him he's a monster guitar player all the time, but so I mean he knows it, but he never talks about it ever. He's always, matter of fact, he's always quick to give other people tips about how they can improve. That's what he always did for me. I haven't seen him in years now, but yep, I like Dino. I miss him. Good dude. Archer's here. Thank you, sir. Christopher Bass says, quick, everyone hide. I don't know who we're hiding from, but James World says, how long has everyone been playing guitar? If you play in here, and what was your first guitar? I started playing back in the 80s. My first guitar was I think I talked about this. I think somebody asked me this last week. My first guitar was a Strat copy called a TSX 2000. It was a red Strat copy that I still have hanging on the wall. There's a short in the electrical wiring in there somewhere because when you plug it in, nothing comes out. But I still have it. So Peyton Toverty says Peyton laser rocket arm. Laser rocket arm. Not guided arm, laser rocket arm, if you're talking about the old Sprint commercial. Topher teases Andrew had nothing but bad luck. If you're talking about Andrew Luck, that's, I don't know that he had bad luck. He had a GM that built the worst offensive line in the league to protect him, and you get beat up and you get sacked and you spend that much time laying on your back looking up at the lights. It's going to take its toll, and 6 years of that was all it took. Finally, his last year that he played, he actually had a stellar year and put up some really elite numbers. And another injury took place, and they couldn't get it diagnosed properly, and he got sick of going back and forth, between rehab and I was crushed when he retired because I really liked Andrew, as a Colts fan. I was crushed to see that I was absolutely crushed when he retired, but when he did, I absolutely understood why. I did not like how because the news broke right before halftime of a preseason game. So, all righty, what is this, Joshua Thomas, that you keep leaving F-bombs? Okay, that's it. We're done. Timeout. I'm not going to block them all together, but yeah, it wasn't so much bad luck as it was a terrible offensive line. Oh, let's see. I'm going to scroll down here and get caught up for a minute. JG Mopar says Full Tone make great pedals. I have a few. I've got a couple of OCDs. I agree. I think they make excellent pedals. Um, you know, the way he's shooting his mouth off on Twitter the way that he did. I didn't necessarily disagree with what he said, but calling his own customer base, pussies and stuff like that, not a real wise idea. I don't disagree with what he said about about some other things that he was, some other points he was trying to drive home, but he took it a little bit too far. So it'll blow over. People forget all about it and start buying Full Tone again. But Musician's Friend Party Guitar Center. They are sister companies. They are both, they operate independently, but they are both under the same corporate umbrella known as Guitar Center Enterprises. So that also includes, that also includes, Music 123 and Music and Arts and Woodwind and Brasswind. I think that's all of them. So those are all under Guitar Center Enterprises. Musician's Friend is selling used crap from GC now. That is not true. Musician's Friends, on a Musician's Friend, there, when something says used, that means it's an open box item, which is either like new, blemished, or scratch and dent. Typically one of those three levels. Let's see. James Severn is hitting the road. Now YouTube's back to jumping down to 0 viewers again, so I have no idea how many people are actually in here. Went from 30 to 0 in a big hurry. Weird. It's doing some weird stuff today. Oh well. Joey Van Ostrand says YouTube blocks links in the chat pane. It does, and it'll block them unless I post it. It'll also block them in the comments section. Believe it or not, more often than not. So any video, if you try to post a link, a lot of times YouTube will block it. So a lot of that also depends on how the creators have that stuff set up too. So. I've got mine set up to where if you post a link, I've got to approve it before it gets posted. So that in that way, that's just if it's some troll that's posting a link to a porn site or something, obviously I don't want that down in there. So. JG Mopar says, during the grunge days, I was still rocking death metal and Pantera. I never got into grunge. I was the same way, man. I was still, I was Pantera, White Zombie, Metallica, Prong, that's the kind of stuff I was into back in that era. I mean, I was in Nirvana when they first came out, and then I got burned on it, the Nevermind record is a great record, but I listened to it from basically from the day that it came out, a few hundred times from that point. It got old, so and kind of turned me on. I never did like Smashing Pumpkins, never did care for them. Never did care for. I like Pearl Jam's first record. I thought, that I hated their second record, and after that, I quit listening to them. Really, the only grunge bands that I was into, from the time that they started, all through the grunge era, was like Alice in Chains, Soundgarden. And that's really about it, Anthony Fitch says, have a good night, my man. Enjoy your dinner. Off to set up an 89 RG 550. Awesome. Very cool guitar. Jack Collins is here. Says hello, Robert from Louisiana. What's up, man? Red Yamaha bass guy is here. Also says thoughts on Morley wah pedals. I have a '70s Morley wah Power Boost. Great wah. I love Morley pedals, man. Matter of fact, last week I just put up a video of the. They were kind enough to send me their new version of the 2020 series, the Steve Vai Bad Horsey Contour wah, and it's a killer wah pedal, phenomenal. I'd really like to try the I think it's the distortion wah and the lead wah. Those are the two that I like that I want to try. So. Yeah, no, I dig Morley pedals, man. I've been a Morley pedal user for a long time. Hey, Tony is still here. At least he was when I mentioned that earlier. I don't know how far behind I still am, but I'm trying to get caught up, guys. So Sunday afternoon here in New Zealand, we had our election results come through last night, hanging out with sick kids. We still got about a little less than 3 weeks to go, 2.5 weeks before our election. So. Dave Escobar says to get a Rockman tone, boost 800 hertz on your EQ lower than other settings, booster output. So there you go. Hadley Scott McIntyre says Paul Dino. No, his name is Dino Codolata. He said played in the band. They were a national act back in the '90s called Birdmen of Alcatraz. So. They were kind of an underground band at the time, but a lot of people, a lot of people seem to know who they were, even if they've forgotten who they were at this point. Says what's a good bass string? Says Hadley Scott McIntyre. With bass strings. I mean, bass strings last so much longer than guitar strings do, even for me. I stick with boomers on bass. Boomers are, boomers are Ernie Balls. You're really, really the only reason I bought boomers is because I like light strings. For a standard, a bass tuned to standard E, like the 40 to 95 set is what I like. Baby strings. Being a guitar player that likes light guitar strings. That's just kind of where I landed. So at the time, the boomers, the Boomer 40 to 95 set was the only bass string set at that gauge that I could find locally in stores. But since then I've ordered Ernie Ball extra slinky basses, which is the same gauge, and that's probably where that's what I ordered a few times since then, and kind of my go-to. Brendan Eltman's hitting the road. Apparently it's midnight over there in the UK, so have a good night, dude. Thank you for hanging out with us. And Dave Escobar is going to pick up his Mexican food. I'm not too far behind you. My stomach's growling now. Doc Amos Roxy says, why did you blow off my donation to your channel? I didn't think that I did. I thought I did address that. Yeah, you earlier said, hey, I want to mess with the trolls. RGD is a good channel for regular dudes, which I did read. And I thought I had said thank you. If I didn't, I apologize. I did... but yeah, I did read it. And again, thank you very much for, for supporting the channel. I certainly didn't mean to blow past it. I thought I read it when it came through, but I could be mistaken. If I am, I apologize. Red Yamaha bass guy says, have you ever tried the Goto GE96 1996T Floyd style trim? I put one on my Ibanez Geo. It's wonderful. I have not, man. I mean, honestly, to me, I mean, most Floyd Roses all feel about the same to me. So, I mean, there's people that, I know like the Floyd Rose specials are made, the alloy that one's made out of is a little bit softer than some of the others. And, people say they wear out faster. I've never had a Floyd Rose or even a licensed Floyd Rose from another company that's ever worn out on me, ever. So, uh, yeah, that particular one that you're referring to though, man, I'm not that familiar with it, but Godo makes good stuff. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid of it. And Christopher Bass says no, they have the same. They have the pictures from the stores. It's the same used inventory. Okay, referring to the musician's friend used gear. Okay, I'll need to check into that. That's news to me. I have to ask a couple of friends about that. Hadley Scott McIntyre's. How about metal on a 335? Yeah, I don't see why not. The only Joe Perry plays. Joe Perry and Ted Nugent both play all kinds of high gain rock stuff. In their hollow bodies. 335 being a semi hollow body. I mean, depending on you might need to be careful how much gain you run through it, but because those things, so the sustain didn't get away from you, but there feedback problems. But beyond that, I don't see why not. All right, if you were telling me to check out the musician's friend website, all right, I'll have to check that out. I still got quite a few friends that work there, so I should be able to get an answer to that pretty easily. Mitchell Tilley, snap your finger, snap your neck. Yep, that was Prong's most popular song. I can't remember the name of the album. It was Cleansing. I think that was the name of the record. Great record. Let's see. I like the song. Too cheap as you guys are talking amongst yourselves. Oops. On the 42nd episode, play a level 42 song on bass now, please. I don't know. Christopher Bass says, in honor of the 42nd episode, please play a level 42 song on bass now. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know who level 42 is. I've never heard of them, much less know any of their songs. Abdullah Al Sultan is here. Says, should I get a cheap audio or interface or save up for an expensive one? It depends on what you want to record, man. If you're just if you're using it for just like recording basic guitar, and you're gonna if you're wanting to record full tracks, you're just using it to record guitar leads and solos and stuff like that, and you're gonna use Superior Drummer, Easy Drummer, or something like that. Basically you need to record guitar and bass, and you're gonna do them all separately as opposed to simultaneously. Something like that's all you need. This is a Focusrite. This is a second gen, but this is a Focusrite 2i2. And this will more than get the job done for you. It's a good little interface. The third generation of these are out now. But even now the third generation, the 2i2, is the best selling interface on the planet right now because it's just a good little interface, two inputs on it. When I was using this, I would plug a guitar into one and plug my bass into the other, and that was pretty much all that I needed, and it more than got the job done for me. Or I won't say more, but it got the job done for me. The reason why I upgraded to the 18i20, same series, just the big one. The reason why I did that is because I wanted to have I wanted to have inputs on the back, or wherever they were. In this case, they happen to be on the back. But I wanted to have an input dedicated specifically to, pardon me, one input dedicated specifically to my Laney IRT Studio amp that I use to record a lot. I wanted to have an input dedicated specifically to this microphone. I wanted to have an input dedicated specifically to my Torpedo Live. One specifically dedicated to, my DI box I use to record bass sometimes. Stuff like that. Plus, I also wanted to have a couple of inputs on the front that were open for utility purposes. So that's the reason why I upgraded, just to make the cable swapping in and out a lot less and a lot easier on myself. So, now I can just sit down and plug, grab the cable that's already hanging out of it, or set up for it, and or plug into whatever is already plugged into it, and that was the advantage to going with a bigger one for me. But if you want to keep it simple, the Focusrite 2i2 is a great way to go. The IK Multimedia has a couple of interfaces that are really designed for guitar players. Now I can't remember what the hell they're called. Hang on, let me find it. Axe, the Axe-IO. That's right. They came out with the Axe-IO, which is about $300 right now. They came out with those a couple of years ago. There's a great interface, and I think now there's a Solo. They came out with a smaller one called the Axe Solo or something. That doesn't have quite as many inputs on it. Again, it's just it's a little more in line with the 2i2. That's like $150, $200. I think it's $200, something like that. So you can definitely go that route and not spend a ton of money. Because really you don't need to. So yeah, that's a couple of suggestions anyway. Let's see. Doc Amos Roxy, no sweat, dude. No harm, no foul. Red Yamaha bass guy says a couple months ago I accidentally stomped on my output jack and ripped out the wiring and the jack itself. Had it repaired for free and had a business card put around the jack for a plate. Safe or no? I don't see anything. It's kind of a kind of jury rig. It sounds like, but I don't see anything wrong with it. As long as you don't put anything too close to a hot flame, but you should be fine. Robert, is the Super Feedbacker distortion boss pedal as good as I remember? I just did a video on that about a month ago or so. Maybe in the last Forgotten Gems of the Past video that I did, and it's kind of an oddball sounding distortion, to be honest. I mean, it's not like your typical DS1 with a feedbacker in it, which is what looking at is what you might expect. So I mean, it's kind of a different sounding distortion, but yeah, check out that video. It'll be the best advice I can give you. See whether or not you're gonna like it. Sean Wise Cubs fan one. What's up, dude? Says, what do you think of Thin Lizzy and their guitar tones, specifically from the later albums that get into heavy metal territory? I mean, Thin Lizzy. When I think Thin Lizzy, I mean, I'm thinking, stuff like Jailbreak and I mean that's always the first song that comes to mind. So that was Thin Lizzy, right? Yeah, because I always get Thin Lizzy confused with like Cheap Trick, and who was that other? There was one other band from that era that was like, that real cosmic sounding, psychedelic kind of sound. But no, I've always liked Thin Lizzy's tones, man. I thought that I think it's not the kind of thing that I would go for. Like I said, they're really really, like this real weird spacey cosmic kind of sounding stuff. But the later stuff that you're talking about, especially though. And I know the record that you're thinking of, and again I can't recall it off the top of my head, but yeah, A1 guitar work there from those dudes, man. Good band. Dustin Demock. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, but says Robert, longtime viewer, first time commenter, recently bought Studio One 4 Artist Edition with a bundle. What's your favorite DAW? Also, if you're interested in listening to a demo, let me know. I use Studio One. Actually, matter of fact, Studio One 4. I use Studio One 4 Professional. I'm still waiting on the dealer version of Studio One 5, which is not PreSonus just released Studio One 5 here a few months ago. And from what I understand, it's pretty awesome. I haven't got my hands on a copy yet, so that's what I'm waiting for. Pardon me, but yeah, I'm a Studio One guy. So I've been using Pro Tools mostly for a long time, but and I really really like Pro Tools 12. I really like Pro Tools 12. For some reason, just digging into it, I was able to wrap my brain around Pro Tools 12 a lot easier than I was Studio One. Now that I've been using Studio One for a while, I got it, but mostly for the rudimentary working of it anyway. I'm a long way from a studio engineer, so. But I really really like Pro Tools, and I'd probably still be using it if Avid didn't have to go and be dicks about my license. So and once that happened, that's when I said, all right, you guys keep it. I'm not giving you any more money. And Studio One is where we landed. So, and like I said, I like Studio One quite a bit. I think the instruments in Studio One are better than Pro Tools, but I think some of the stock plugins, the Avid stock plugins and Pro Tools were better than some of the stock ones in Studio One. So at least version 4. Like I said, I don't know about 5 yet. So that remains to be seen. But short answer, I'm a Studio One guy. Let's see. Christopher Bass says, I don't really understand where all that gain comes from on amps that are supposedly clean, like the Marshall Country Club, or I don't know what a Marshall Country Club is. High watts are, high watts are kind of an anomaly because those things are loud as hell and they stay clean, cranked up, loud as hell. And that's what they were known for. There's high gain amps, mid gain amps, low gain amps, and then you got high watts, which are just about no gain amplifiers, and how they achieve that, like I don't know. I'm not an electronics engineer. I don't understand the science behind it either, but that's what they're known for. Let's see here. Hadley Scott McIntyre says, who's listened to Todd Rundgren Utopia? I have not, unfortunately. I don't keep up with new music nearly as well as I used to when I was younger. I mean, I was the first one to I made sure and heard the Black Album before all my friends did. I made sure and heard heard what was the one that what was this, Incesticide that Nirvana put out after Nevermind. Whatever the one after Nevermind was. I was always real hip to be the first one to listen to that stuff, and part of it was just because I wanted to be the first one. But I really don't keep. Music is released in so many different ways nowadays too. I mean, now it's all dropped online or on a Spotify or something like that. Ghost is notorious for putting up. They'll record a new track and put it up on their YouTube channel, and everybody hears it there for the first time. So before you see it, before you see it land on it with them, Ghost especially, they'll put up a new song with a new video on their YouTube channel, and then you'll see it show up on a record like year and a half later. So, which I think they're actually in the middle of recording their next album right now. So that means we ought to be getting a new record and probably a new leads and a new frontman. My understanding is Cardinal Copia will still be Ghost's frontman, but I think if I follow the story well enough and I understand everything, it sounds like he has finally earned his paint. So maybe we'll get more, something more resembling a Papa, like a Papa 3. Which was always my favorite. John Taylor says Ringo is the best Beatle. He was smart enough to get Lukather on guitar. I'm not going to argue with that at all. That is true. As far as being smart enough to get Steve Lukather on guitar. Did you guys see that video that he put up? Steve Lukather posted this video of I guess his neighbors out in L.A. or wherever the hell he lives. His neighbors were, hired some landscapers that were out cutting down trees and doing all kinds of shit with chainsaws at like 7 a.m. So Steve Lukather posted, and he recorded it on video. He pulls out his half stack, puts it in the garage, out in the backyard, points at the neighbor's house and cranks it up, and just wails on it for like 4 or 5 minutes straight. And then when he's done, he yells across the fence, "Good morning!" I about died laughing when I saw that. Look, like go to YouTube, or I assume it's on YouTube. I think I saw it on Facebook, but go to YouTube and look up like Steve Lukather Good Morning or something, see if it pops up. Hey, Joey. Let's see. Last one. I got split. Robert, what was your worst gig ever? Probably we were playing a Halloween show for. We were hired to play. Joey, come here. We were hired to play out. There was a haunted house going on, and we were hired to play outside this haunted house. And because people are standing in line all night, so they wanted something entertaining out there to keep people occupied while they're waiting to get into the damn haunted house. So the idea was this haunted house is advertised all over town. Yeah, Zoe, come here. So we were under the impression there was going to be plenty of people walking by and checking us out for a little bit all night long. Well, we got there and their turnout was far less than what they had told us they were expecting. And I'm making sure Zoe gets downstairs okay with that cone on her head. All right, she made it. I gotta go check on her a second. Their turnout was far less than what they told us it was going to be, and there was not people walking by all night long. Their stage was literally a bunch of pallets with plywood, 4x8 sheets of plywood screwed down to the top of it. So it was this, on asphalt. So an old beat up asphalt driveway or a parking lot outside this church where this haunted house was, and there was so it was the most uneven death trap of a stage I've ever played on. And we're probably about 3 songs into the gig, and all of a sudden it starts raining. And I mean, I've got my we've all got all of our gear out fully exposed. So finally, we all looked at each other and, said, we need to play our last 2 songs and get the hell out of here. This is, this gig has been a nightmare, so that's what we did. We played our last 2 songs as fast as we could, and, started throwing tarps and stuff over all of our gear while we could get it all packed up before it got too wet. That one was not a fun night. Yep. Making sure there's nothing else in here. You guys talking about a couple things I don't know what to refer to, et cetera, et cetera. Alrighty. So, anyway, guys, thanks for coming to hang out with me. I really didn't know that this was going to extend as long as it did, but it did. So, but I'm hungry now, so I'm going to go get me some food. Yep. So, anyway, check out the video that's going up tomorrow morning, and again, those of you that support the channel here for this one, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. That's literally how I'm able to keep this thing going. So, everybody, have a good night, and be safe out there. Adios.